Hello and welcome to another episode of the Pig City Podcast. We have another episode of Around the Bases today as we will be covering each base. Rafael Devers has been traded to the San Francisco Giants, and I've got some thoughts. Listen, this is one of those moves, it just hits differently. Not just because of the player involved, but because of how it all went down. So today on the podcast, on Pig City Podcast, we're going to go around the bases. First base, we're going to talk about why it's such a great move for the Giants. Second base, we're going to discuss what are the Red Sox doing? What are they thinking, or what were they not thinking? Third base, the communication breakdown, the life lessons that has. And then as we come home, I'm going to end the episode with something really special and honestly something I'm not seeing really anybody talk about and what really bothers me the most about this situation. Let's get into it. First base, Giants got an absolute stud, a freaking dude, a guy that can just mash. Okay, they pulled off a massive win. Devers is basically the best lefty they've had since Barry Bonds. Not hyperbole, facts. Legitimately, think about it. They've had some guys, some flashes every now and then. He is by far the most consistent, best lefty bat they've had since maybe the greatest player ever. Barry Bonds, the greatest player ever, in my opinion. Not the point of the video. Moving on. He immediately will slot into the middle of the lineup. He gives them power threat. He takes away the pitchers approach him, changes it completely because now you have to think about Devers at every second that you're playing that team because you know his bat's coming around. And this team, unless something crazy happens, they're in the playoffs, right? Yes, they lost to the Dodgers recently. They're right in that division race. Buster Posey's not just hanging around in the front office. He's saying, we're trying to win. I'm not wasting any time. You remember when Buster Posey was getting rings every other year, a little 6-year span, 3 rings, something like that? But here's the point. They're in the playoffs, and now they have a lefty bat, can splash McCovey Cove often. Okay, the splash meter is going to be going up now that Devers is in San Francisco. They took advantage of the mess going on in Boston, and we're going to get into that as a little bit, but our first base, we want to stop with this point. They saw an area, a team, a player that was in distress. So there was stress, there was problems going on, and they finally get their free agent. Okay, we remember that Aaron Judge, then maybe Carlos Correa, this player, that player, are they going to come here? It seemed like the past several years, the Giants were rumored of Arson Judge, actually, but the Giants were rumored to sign so many players that didn't happen. Would they get a guy that's probably better than what other free agents they're going to be able to get anyways? And all they basically had to give up was money. And they were going to have to pay a star anyway. So, amazing deal by the Giants. Great deal by the Giants. Awesome deal by the Giants. It's one of those situations where it's a championship caliber move because this is the team that already was on the brink, in my opinion, of being a contender. They're fighting with the Dodgers for the division. They're going to be in the playoffs. As I just said, this is a move that can make them go from we'll see to we're going to see. All right. So we move on to second base. I want to start with a question. Red Sox, what are you doing? Now, the Red Sox, listen, they didn't get along with Devers, right? They didn't want to change things up, didn't want to pay him. He didn't want to play this position, didn't want to play that. But look at the package you sincerely got, okay? A couple of arms that might be starters, maybe even just relievers, a high-value prospect, great, a wild card minor leaguer, and that's the return who's a guy who, honestly, since his first 28 bats, has literally been a top 5 batter in the league. Look at the numbers. We know we started out 0 for 19. Since then, a top 5 hitter in the entire major leagues, and that's what you get? So, this front office clearly has extreme belief in themselves. They're saying, we're done with the drama. We want guys that want to be here. We don't want players being grumpy. We don't want them causing problems, causing drama. We want the culture and the environment to be guys who want to win at all costs. So the problem with that is you're giving up Devers and you're hoping one of these young guys or somebody you can bring in basically would produce and turn into Devers as far as production goes. So best case, you got rid of somebody that didn't want to be there to bring somebody in that does want to be there, but that produces the same. Again, maybe they go out, maybe they make a big move. Listen, we saw the Yankees, maybe they're benefiting from not getting Soto. They're able to spread the money out a little more. Maybe that's kind of what the Red Sox are thinking. They can spread it across several guys, but it is confusing. Let's be honest. You think back a little further, Mookie, Xander, Devers, former Red Sox, now in California. What's going to happen with this youth? Are they going to stay around? You're sitting players based on what type of pitchers on the mound, righty, left. If that's what you have, Devers wasn't sitting out games based on if he faces a right-hander or left-hander, but that's the guys you're keeping and believing in the future instead. And again, the fact that one of the guys that Devers was clashing with, Christian Campbell, again, I still have belief in, he just got sitting down in the minors. It's a really weird look that because Devers has a problem with this guy saying he'll play first base. Well, Where's that guy now? Minor leagues. Devers isn't going to minor leagues. Okay. The other question I have is, was this just a spite move by the front office? Did they just want to make a point? They want to set the precedent from what they expect from their players. If so, I suppose, and I believe that could be a good thing. It shows they're serious about the team culture. It sends a message to future free agents or the youth on the Red Sox. We're not going to tolerate it. It's team over self, no matter what, right? The same thing we teach to youth sports. You put yourself not above the team, but as a part of the team, and the team is above you. So is that what they want? The future of the Red Sox is simply that? The problem with that is this. You're a major league player. You're a major league front office. Are you making emotional decisions? The player didn't like you, so you get rid of him? I don't know if that's the best precedent in this. All right. So again, now we're getting into where it gets a little more personal. Third base, communication is key. This is the part from baseball and life that kind of is the most frustrating part to me. Communication is everything. It's so crucial and so key. Here are the questions we have and know pieces of information about that I kind of want to pull together and make a little concise here. How was it not clearly discussed if he'd be asked to play third or first base? Was it poor communication? Was it a language issue? Was it in the actual translation of some phrase was left out or said a different way? Did the Red Sox lie to his camp and just say, no, it's fine. We know it's tough to DH. You're just going to DH. You're not going to have to play anything else. Is that actually what happened? We may never know the full truth of everything that happened. Every single meeting was not recorded and documented is my point. But the fact that something this basic, this crucial, was just kind of like apparently never made clear is kind of wild, right? Now, Devers was signed by the last front office, sure, but that doesn't excuse a total breakdown in expectations. But here's my question to Devers, though, right? If the team asked the Red Sox, if Devers' team actually asked the Red Sox and were lied to, I can understand that's an issue. But if you're on a team, and I would ask this to Devers or anyone in the situation, and you're asked to simply shift roles for the betterment of the group, isn't that part of the job? Isn't that part of being a pro? Isn't that a part of baseball? A team sport? It wasn't punishment. It was about trying to help the team win. They weren't mad at Devers or frustrated with Devers because he couldn't hit. They just wanted him to move to a different slot that could change the roster in a way that would make the team better. And honestly, could have lengthened his career. What do you think you have a better chance at being as you get older in age? You're going to play third forever, or you're going to transition to first, or just DH where you're just hitting? So I don't know if that's on the front office. Is that on the front office to meet with every player anytime they think, if we're not going to play this guy the exact same position, we should make that extremely clear? Or did Devers' team actually legitimately ask, hey, if he moves to DH, he's not ever playing in the field ever again in his career? That seems like a crazy thing to have said. I'm never going to play in the field again because you wanted this guy. Again, on top of all that, ever since the Bregman signing, it became public that Devers wasn't really all that thrilled, right? Remember, if you really think back, Bregman says he's just going to play second base. And, Bregman didn't say that. The report said Bregman was going to play second base and Devers would remain at third. But then right after Devers is asked to DH, it suddenly turns into him saying his famous phrase of just, no, not wanting to play anymore. Not playing there, not learning first. You asked me to DH, I'm just going to DH. Now we can argue about how much you should pay for a DH, but again, as I mentioned in first base, Giants, they got it. So it is very confusing. It brings up the other question. Why were we, meaning the public, why were we made privy to this information at all? Really think about it. Why was that drama out in the open? It's messy, and it never had to have been. Simple phrases are used all the time, and people say they're media trained and have the correct answers of just saying, I'll do whatever's best for the team to win. If they said these basic catchphrases, it could have been messy behind. Do we think every other clubhouse has no issues with star players? That there's no problem when you're asked to do something differently at your job, at your work, when you're asked, hey, can you do that? Or when you just do something else for the betterment of those around? Imagine if we lived in a society where, and I know some people are like this, but imagine if we lived in a society where if it's not 100% in my job description, I'm not doing it at all. It would be a much worse place to be. And when you're getting to play a kid's game, making $300 million, you'd think maybe you'd be more likely to do it. I get the pushback of you got paid to do something else. But anyways, why were we made aware of all this going on? It just doesn't make sense. Bottom line, somebody dropped the ball. And here's the lesson. It's very simple. In baseball and life, communication is everything. All right, as we head home, the part that really bothers me, and I got to be real with you. Here's the biggest issue with the Devers trade that I have, okay? And it's honestly, like I said in the intro, it's something I really haven't seen many people talking about. And maybe I'm wrong. I'll admit it, I've been wrong before, okay? Maybe you don't see it the same. Let me know. Drop a comment. Again, like the video. Thanks for watching at this point. Make sure you're subscribed. Please, it really, really does help. I know you hear everyone say it, but we can't explain how much it does help. But here's my biggest issue, and I'm not really seeing much communication about it, ironically, with communication. Devers wasn't willing to be a team player. He got offended that a rookie, Christian Campbell, said he'd be willing to play first base, that a kid would want to do something better for his career. We know Campbell signed the deal earlier this year, but Devers apparently took it as a slight that somebody else would be willing to move there. So he just wanted only if people that like that's weird, right? If true. Again, all this is somewhat alleged. Then he didn't want to play third after DHing. I don't even want to play that anymore. He don't want to shift roles for the sake of the team. And instead of just adjusting, instead of just working through it, he gets rewarded. He gets moved to a better team, right? A better city. Don't be mad, Boston fans, but in general, he gets catered to. He gets his full pay. He gets promised one thing, and he might be asked to do something later, and he's already said he's willing to do whatever to make the team win. If it was really that big of a deal to him that he would never play another position, he already has changed his tune. It doesn't make sense, right? Things evolve. They need change. But what message does this send? It sincerely, actually upsets me to the point where 5 days later, I'm still talking about it. If you complain, if you put yourself first, if you make things uncomfortable for everyone around you, you discourage younger people from succeeding, you get rewarded. That's the part that just doesn't sit right with me. Maybe I'm being too soft. Maybe it's too old school. I just can't shake this feeling. Let me know what you think. Am I off base here? Sorry. Is there something about this that's just wrong? I mean, I'm not necessarily saying I'm even rooting against Devers or that I'm anti-Giants at this point, because I think it was an incredible move by them, of course. They're a better team now with Devers. Devers, by all accounts and metrics and stats and everything else, looks like he's in a much better space now, right? We'll see in due time, as we mentioned earlier, that how the Red Sox really shake out. I think we're about 2 years away from really seeing with trades and free agency, and maybe the Red Sox add a Kyle Tucker, they add a big bat into the middle of their lineup. We'll see what they do to kind of spread this wealth out. But as for right now, the Giants are a better team, but something about it seems way played out, and maybe it does affect me on a level in a different way. I don't know. I don't know what about it bothers me so much, but the fact that you can sit out, complain, whine, cry, and get rewarded. And if I'm being honest, I think there's a part of me that starts to feel a little NBA-ish. People sit out, end up on a better team, end up in a better situation, right? I could list several names here, and it always works. Don't do that, baseball. Don't become the sport where you can act like a whiny crybaby and then get your way, right? Am I off base? Am I being too harsh on Devers? Am I being too harsh on the Red Sox? Am I too positive about the Giants moving this? Let me know, please. That's the episode. Thanks for going around the bases with me. Hit us up in the comments, okay? Pig City Podcast across all platforms. We're learning, we're growing, we're building. Thank you. Subscribe for more MLB talk, fantasy breakdowns, football right around the corner. Devers is going to suit up for the Giants to face the Red Sox today. It's pure cinema, okay? We're excited to see how will the new bat be in the lineup against his former team as the Red Sox travel to the West Coast. I'm staying up for it all night. If you got anything you want to say, any predictions, let us know. Maybe you're here after they've played and you've seen Devers homer off his old team. We'll see. Do the Red Sox hit him? All right. Anyways, getting off track. Let's see how it plays out. Thank you so much for tuning in. And that is another episode of Around the Bases. This was Zackery Ivey. This is Pig City Podcast.